It's Monday. If it's Monday, I'm with Kelly and Harvey. And, I'm so pleased. We were just talking prior to going live on how much progress we're making on insights and on taking those insights and transforming them into opportunities, not only for ourselves, but more importantly for others who want to do with and how we're doing what we're doing. So if you like the show, get closer to being around the show, right? We're talking about sponsorships, guest appearances, having your own show, joining our collaboration group. We really do believe that the closer and the tighter we can all be, the faster and the more progress we'll be making. So, chat's wide open. Today is the LinkedIn strategy event. We've been so honored and blessed from prior events that we're just building momentum. With that, before chat takes over, let me turn it over to Kelly. Kelly can bring you up to date and looking for a wonderful show. Thank you for coming.
Of course. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. And happy Monday, everyone. I think Monday is always a great way to start off strategy, regardless if it's an overall or just for your week, because I do feel like that's a time that we all sit back and plan, or maybe on Sundays, that we plan our week of what's ahead. And particularly LinkedIn strategy, there's so many components that go to it that I think can be so overwhelming to people, and not knowing who to go to or who to talk to about certain things. And I do have to say something interesting this weekend, and Christy made this post. She shared it and then messaged me to be like, go look at this. Gary Vee, for most of you that know, most people know who Gary Vee is. And if you don't, I'm surprised, because he really is kind of everywhere. But he's now posting, hey, if you need to have LinkedIn Live in your 2024 strategy. And I just kind of had that moment of like, when you're ahead of Gary Vee on something, that feels pretty good. And he's one for me. I mean, he's just not my cup of tea. He's got great content. I will always say that. But just personally, to watch his videos, just not my jam. But I love his content, and he's very successful. So, I mean, I give him complete credit for what he does. But it was just sort of one of those things that it was like, yep, we're doing something right, encouraging people to add LinkedIn Live into their strategy for their marketing and business strategy for 2024. And you can get there much quicker when you work with people who have been doing it for a long time and then know a majority of the behind the scene quirks and things that work. And we continue to try different things and get back to each other and be like, hey, I tried this and this worked. And so we're always honing in on even a more successful, efficient strategy to help others. Because what's the point of doing all of this if there's not a goal of helping others? And that's what all three of us do every day is help other people. So it was just kind of a no-brainer to add LinkedIn Live as part of what we wanted to help everyone with. So those are my opening thoughts on this Monday morning, Harvey.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, as well. And actually, Monday afternoon for me. So I have a little bit of an advantage. I can tell you the future as well, can't I? You guys.
Love it.
I'm in the future right here. It's crazy. Yeah, I think it was a great opening points that you made there, Kelly, about LinkedIn and strategy. I mean, in terms of my industry and franchising, I can't think of any way that I could have engaged with the community, the speed that I've done it, without LinkedIn Live and without following what you and Don have shared with me and what I share with you. But without that, I would have been 3 years behind, I think, where I am now. The speed that things are now accelerating in terms of having conversations with franchising people that have been in the industry for 40, 50 years that now are wanting to come on the show. And it's because of best practices. It's because of how you put these things together, how you grow that community, and the way you do it. I think one thing I was going to say about strategy as well is simplifying your goals as well.
Yes.
I'm terrible for it, to have 20 things I'm doing and change all of them 20 times a day. And it can kind of create a bit of a fog. But, you know,
Yeah.
if you simplify your goal, and your goal is to have a LinkedIn Live show, right? Make that your goal, because we know how good that engagement is. You know, we're walking living proof of it. But if you make that your goal, and then we can give you all of the steps as to how you achieve that. You know, we're constantly learning, but, you know, you can have this advantage of being so far ahead of the curve. And I think it just helps you reach those goals. So if you simplify the goal first, LinkedIn Live show, you can just get there so quickly. And it's such an amazing way to engage with a community. It really is. I don't know any other way you can do it, apart from if you could have 500 face-to-face meetings a week, and spend time with people, getting to know them. You know, it's the only other way, and it would be impossible. So it's an amazing thing that we're doing. So yeah, that's my opening.
I think both Kelly and Harvey make such wonderful points, because it's not about us, it's about it, and being in the right place at the right time with the right people, right? We're just facilitators and hosts of something that no one engineered or developed yet. And we got specific to something we're all passionate about and excited to be involved in. And we become the nest that everybody wants to come back to and participate. So what's really interesting and confidence building is that things are now taking action steps. You know, for a long time, there's learning steps, and then there's doing steps, and there's questioning steps. And then finally things start rolling out, you know, and changes start happening. So whenever you see people making changes, it's because they're working with new information, or a better opportunity. And I think Harvey makes a great point that too many people are focused on too many things in a very small way. Yeah. And collectively, it doesn't really move to the point of getting excitement. Yeah. You know, and I think with that said, you know, it's really about who are you doing things with. To Harvey and Kelly's point, best practices, how are you doing it? How much are you doing it? Why are you changing it? You know, I've templated everything since I got started here. If you look at my posts, it's pretty much the same information every day. But it's only because today the information hasn't changed since yesterday, or yesterday's information wouldn't have been as worthwhile if it changes with the moment or with the audience. And I think that's what's important, is the content, the interaction, and I think more importantly over everything is the opportunity. Mm-hmm. I mean, when me and Kelly started, and me and Harvey and Kelly started, compared to where we were and what our opportunity vision was, is like night and day today. And that's what this can do, is transform things, not just improve. So, you know, I'm a big cheerleader because we're living it, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And we want to really make this happen by helping others do the same thing. So Omar's here. Omar's always great. Omar's got his Zoom party show. Actually, I believe if my grandson continues to go through with it, he'll be on the show Saturday, which should be fun, and hope he wins. But the more important thing is just being around Omar, playing a game, being with other kids, doing something different and interesting. Maybe it'll create a show and tell. Who knows? Renadeb says, good morning to all from my side. Great to see you. And wonderful to join today's session. So happy. You know, I was going to share something real quick. And I was just looking at LinkedIn strategy events, right? So if we go here, you can see this one already just on YouTube is number 5 when you pull it up. But what I want to share with you is there's this lady, and her name is Shanae Moray. She has
Oh, yeah.
are you familiar with her?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the key is she's got 1 million followers, and she's huge. And what she says in one of these videos is that she won't even work with anybody if they're not doing live or video. That's a requirement. You know, she does all the LinkedIn training and stuff like that. And just like Kelly mentioned, Gary Vee, if they didn't believe in it, they wouldn't make it a qualification.
Yeah.
Right. In
That's
most
right.
cases, it would be here, take your choices, but their goal is to see people get more successful for the value they provide. And the value they provide becomes more valuable as more people can testify to the strength of it. And I think having a show where we're doing it and other people are starting to prove it should really have a groundswell as far as awareness, because it's easier when your friend is doing it and you get into it with them or by them or for them than if you're just hope to stumble into something, because there's 1 billion people registered on LinkedIn and how few are doing any of this. So Kelly's right. This is like an undiscovered secret that's in front of people, and hopefully we can help. So Kelly, a lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah. So yeah, and she's great. She does a lot of things on LinkedIn as well. She does a lot of audio rooms. I always try to pop in if she comes up and listens to. So I do recommend that everybody who's interested in she does a lot of really deep dives into some marketing, and gets into AI, image generators and that kind of thing, Mid-Journey. So she'll get real specific. So for someone like me, I geek out on that stuff and it keeps me in the know. And it speeds up my learning process because I don't have to go look all this stuff up. I can listen to one of her episodes that are, 30 minutes to an hour long and gain the knowledge that I needed, or be like, oh, now I understand how this works, which is great. And that should be part of a strategy, in the sense of, even if you don't have it in your strategy right now, there's no reason you can't add it. My feeling has always been your business strategy, your marketing strategy, your overall goals may stay the same, but your strategy is kind of a living, breathing document, if you will, because you usually don't start the year the same way you end the year, because things constantly pivot and shift and change over time. And my feeling, and I do sort of feel like a broken record on this one because I know I say it all the time, but to me, adding a live into your strategy is a complete no-brainer, simply because it doesn't take the amount of time for doing a podcast. Totally different technology. You need someone that understands YouTube, all of the different third-party tools. It's a lot more complicated. I'm not saying it's not worthy of doing, because you can still make your lives into and share the audio on Spotify and other channels as well. But again, you need to know a whole lot more. And I know so many people that started off, and I'm one of them. I wanted to do a podcast, but then since I started doing the lives, it was just like, well, we could do this way quicker than trying to figure out all the things to get a podcast going. And once you're finished with it, you're finished with it. If you have the time to go back, and I do say this a lot as well, on your strategy, you can phase in. You don't have to do everything at one time. Start off small and add on as you can, which is exactly what I did. We started doing the lives, and I should say Christy and I, on the Awesome Journey, is we started doing the lives, and then a little bit later added on the YouTube channel, knowing that eventually we'll do something with our YouTube channel, but don't really do anything with it now. It's keeping all of our recordings there. And then I added on, when I could do it consistently, taking our videos and taking some excerpts out of it to do post promos, and share those also with our guests. And there are even apps that will do things to automatically do the excerpts. I haven't tried them out yet. I do have one in my hopper that I will be trying. But I think that's important too, is to understand, like, how should I phase in, because it feels overwhelming when it's something you don't understand. And when it's broken down in a way that you can digest it, it's the whole thing. And Don, I think you used this on our show Friday. You can't eat an elephant all at once. You've got to do it one bite at a time. And that is kind of going into a live stream. You don't have to have it all on all platforms, being live on all platforms, doing post promos, pre promos, doing events. That sounds like a lot, and it can be overwhelming. So it is doing a step by step, getting into the pool little by little and adding on as you can. Because I think you'll be surprised at the results that you'll see. Because a big part of it is, think about when you see people on a video, you get to know them better quicker instead of reading their content. Because when I read your content, my interpretation is based on my perception, which may not be your intention. Whereas when you see people, you get the tone, the vibe, all the things so much quicker. And it just speeds up the whole process of getting meetings or just people understanding who you are and what your business is. So those are kind of my thoughts right now.
Harvey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you made some fantastic points there, Kelly, actually. I think what you ended with there, I'd like to touch on about the fact that you see more of the person when you're doing a LinkedIn Live. I think it's, apart from don't see the legs, I mean, but I get what you mean. And it's, yeah. We're all wearing our pajamas, really, but
Right.
But I think the important thing is you do get to know someone via the medium of video, because you can see someone's facial expressions. You can see when somebody is interested. You can see when somebody's excited. You can get a taste of their character. And therefore you just start to get to know them. I often talk about the fact that I used to listen to a podcast, and I may have mentioned it before, but it was a podcast with a relatively famous comedian here in the UK. And I listened to, when I was driving a lot, maybe 400 episodes of this, right? 300 or 400, just a lot of them. And I felt I knew him, because the medium of video and storytelling is very intimate, and you get to know someone. If it's a film star or if it's somebody even on traditional streaming or TV, you don't really feel like you get to know them quite as much. Yeah. But a podcast is intimate, and a LinkedIn Live even more so, because if you do it right, and how Don has always done it, and what I always loved and always emulated, is the engagement with the people that are here. We're one big learning community, and that's absolutely what you can do. And that's part of the power of LinkedIn Live. A podcast, it's great, but it's a conversation between two people. It has its advantages. You can listen to it at any time, etc., etc. But the engagement in a podcast, I mean, I'll give you an example. If I put out a LinkedIn Live, the engagement is brilliant of the people that are there, but the engagement afterwards, not quite so much. Or if I put out the video later or something like that, it suits different people, and you can do both and take advantage of both strategies. But what I love about what you said there is you definitely get to know someone. You get to know, the people that are here today, Dennis, Renardeb, Carl, Omar, we know them. We know all of those individuals. And why do we know them? I've never met them, but we know them because of what they say and how they act. And we know them because we've built that doing a LinkedIn Live. We wouldn't have got to know them if we hadn't brought their comments onto the screen, discussed that, but we do. And that's so much part of the power of a LinkedIn Live. A couple of other things you said there, Kelly, that I think were really valid. Doing things consistently. It's part of best practices. And I'm as guilty as anybody I'll try something and I realize that it's too much to do it consistently. So I won't do it. And in fact, actually, for me, doing those video recaps, I couldn't do that because whatever the software I was using at the time, it was just too much to do it consistently. But always responding to people's comments is something I absolutely do, and I respond to them individually. I normally do it. I normally do it using my phone, so I can at least say it, and it will then type it. But that's a tool, isn't it? We're talking about LinkedIn Live as a tool, and it's a tool that allows you to build engagement. And with every tool, it's about using the right one and using it in the right way. And I think finally this round, I was just going to say, you said that people can find doing a LinkedIn Live overwhelming. And I think that can be true unless you break it down and it suddenly becomes very easy. Because like you said, Kelly, compared with a podcast, a podcast, you arrange a time to meet, you record it, you then got to edit it, make sure, add music, intros, outros, pre-promotion, post-promotion. When it does go out, you're trying to monitor maybe some comments that come in, respond at that time. And there's not the connection that you get LinkedIn Live, the connection of responding to something that somebody said there and then. And with that, I think I better hand it back to Dom to respond to this.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I just wanted to interject one thing on that, is because I think this is an important factor, and I don't know that I'll remember it when it comes back to me, is one of the things, like with our guests, whether it's here or it's on Harvey's show or on The Awesome Journey, what I've noticed and what I love with my guests, and then we've had some pretty high profile people on The Awesome Journey, and when they say things to Christy and I like, hey, this was our favorite show that we've done, and they've been on like major networks, not just on LinkedIn Live. They've been on the news on all major networks and have had other things done. And the reason being, when we pull that all back, it's because it's just a conversation. We've never done any of these lives with any kind of agenda. We don't start saying, hey, here's the 5 questions we're going to ask, be prepared. Because what I think that does, and I'm speaking for myself, because I've been on podcasts where they gave me, here's the 5 questions we're going to ask you. Well, you're in your mind, you're prepared on how you want to answer it. So you're you are a little bit distracted from being present in the moment and just answering it as you would casually. And there is something about making a guest feel like they're just having a conversation, and you go so much deeper into things. So I just think it has such a different way of getting content that you don't expect, and hearing it back from your guests and your audience. That's not just giving confirmation of what you're doing and feeling proud of. But Christy and I geek out when we get some big people tell us, hey, this was a favorite one that we've done. We're now going to give people to you that we think you should have on your show. There's nothing better than that. And then just because a lot of times people say, well, what do you hear back? Because you only see the comments. Sometimes conversations don't have a lot of comments because the topic could be, hey, I'm just listening in. Because a lot of times I do that on this show too. I'll listen in, but I might be doing something else and I might not be commenting, but it's because it's great content and I'm just taking it in. So there's a lot of little other nuances, but I wanted to make sure I said that thing about the ease of how your guest and how having it not being scripted does lead to deeper, more meaningful conversation, at least in my experience.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, that's why having the LinkedIn strategy event, this truly is a strategy event, because some people don't know the what. The people who know the what don't know the how. Mm-hmm. And once they figure out the how, they need the why. So this is why you don't do things that take too much time, because they're not sustainable. They can't be consistent. Here's the things you focus on because you can make a bigger impact. To Kelly's point, when you look at most broadcasts, whether it's national news or LinkedIn Live, there's 2 factors. They're reaching an audience that needs constant excitement, right? So they tend to challenge their guests to say something outrageous, to say something that everybody will broadcast. And the broadcaster is trying to polish themselves in front of everybody, right? They're talking about how great they are in a way. When you can come here and be humble and modest and honor the people you're with, naturally that's a better experience. I've talked to so many people, been on shows and never had a chance to talk. You know, I've talked to people who said, I didn't even understand the questions. It was so immature, the show. It was someone who had a microphone but didn't have the knowledge, the wherewithal. And actually, shows like this expose everybody over time. The other key factor I want to share is we're talking to everybody who's already on LinkedIn, who's already doing something every day. We're not selling them on getting on LinkedIn. What we're saying is there's a better way to leverage your time, thought, and effort, and not to have to go through the learning curve that we went through. And that's why organizing trainings, having collaboration groups, why not just step into it if you're already into it? Because if it's not this, it's that. If it's not now, it's when. And we're living proof of the benefit that it can bring. But let me go to these wonderful people. Carl's here. Can't say enough about Carl. His newsletter is getting more successful by the day. And that kind of proves you do everything every day. You get something every day from what you do. And that's the beauty of consistency. Whether it's 10 new subscribers a day, it's going to build. I'm getting 40 subscribers a day, you know, and I'll pick up 3,000 more subscribers at that rate, just putting it out there. And again, you never know what you don't know. You never know who you don't know until they show up. But here's Renadeb. Developing a powerful LinkedIn strategy can help one enhance their professional presence, build a strong network, and can help to advance their career. All three. Dennis is here. Great to start my week. A fun day listening and learning from you live, folks. Honestly, no jokes. Well, that's a change. That's a strategy. That says one can optimize their profile, create a custom LinkedIn URL for easy findings, connect with colleagues, classmates, and industry professionals to build a strong network. And, you know, what's the whole point of being on a social network but to have your voice heard clearly and directly to the people that are relevant to your message? I mean, that's the easiest way to compress things, is the louder, clearer, and more powerful in its projection, not in shaking somebody up, but including people. And just, you know, just like if you were putting a classified ad in, what are you looking for? And what does it take to be that person? So if you want a manager trainee, what are the hours? What are the pay? What's this and that? It's the same thing. You're looking for a person. You're not going to hire them, but you're looking to strategically collaborate somehow. And strength in numbers against huge numbers are essential. Renadeb says LinkedIn is a place to create profession for sure. I think we said that. The individual should also join and participate in different groups to widen their presence. And once you find the group, support it. Get involved with it. Don't be a bystander. This is your life. This is your career. This is your profession. Who has the luxury and generosity to say, I don't care what happens this year. I'll just keep doing what I was doing for the last few years that keep getting me where I'm at. And if you're happy where you're at, stay where you're at, because happiness is hard to find. But if you're not, make a move, challenge yourself to be a little different, trust someone. And I think that's the quality that hopefully we can project over time. But you got to trust yourself too to make a move. You know, sometimes the game is between you and yourself and you can't get out of your own way. So hopefully a helping hand or an open door could make a difference. Dennis says, agree, use your tool the right way and don't be a fool. Christy's here. So glad to see you, Christy. We have gotten that comment from everyone and have become good friends. Kelly, we're truly
Yeah.
blessed, and for sure. And
Yes,
what it proves is as you serve others, you serve yourself better. Because I know a lot of people say, well, how have you monetized this? How much money have you made? I know how many people we've touched, how many lives we impacted in a positive way that you can't put a price on.
That's right.
And sometimes you just got to do it to get good enough at doing it. And then hopefully the money follows. Linda's here. Morning all. Great to be back with the live. Your mornings are so wonderful to be on listening and joining in to share or to appreciate your message share. This is one of them. Well, Linda, just like Kelly and Christy had just said, it's not just the guests who tell us this is great. It's the audience that reinforces it every day by your presence and by your support. And we wouldn't know who we are or what we are without feedback. We'd just be three people looking at each other thinking, I hope, they like this, or I hope they enjoyed this. And you don't know that if you put a post out there, right? You don't take their temperature. You get a superficial, thank you so much. Oh, look who's here, Khan. Khan's one of the main driving forces on our every other Thursday collaboration group that you can join or you can qualify for if you want to go to my website and see that program. But Khan's just an amazing man. Just came out with a brand new book that I want to really get the word out because, just from talking with Khan, I know how important this book is to him because of the importance it can have to others. So Khan does exemplify what we're trying to be as a person of service, of value, of quality. Those are hard to find in today's world. So thank you, Khan. Beverly's here, who's every Tuesday, not the hour of power, but the women's empowerment event. And actually tomorrow's a new guest that's going to be on it with her. And her name, let me share real quick, is Michelle J. Howe, which is just great. And next week, we're going to be having with Beverly, we're going to have Mary Gardner back. And Mary's just a wonderful colleague of mine I've known for about 3 years. And we were in a collaboration group every week for a year. So we got to trade a lot of wonderful information. So happy she's getting more involved with us. Beverly says, hey, Khan, hey, everyone. And I think that's the other part is it takes the weight off of us when everybody else is already knowing each other, involved with each other. And you know what has happened over time? We've shaken off all the loose leaves. The people who came for something purely for themselves are gone, right? And the people who come here for each other are here. And that ultimately will sort itself out because that saying I always say, some will, some won't, so what? Makes so much sense. And Penny's here. And Penny, if you don't know her, is into franchise manuals, I believe. And I know she's been on Harvey's show. And so it's funny, and I've seen Penny comment on my post and be here on my post. And I'd love to have her on a show. I think that would be great. And, it's just opportunities are there. Just someone has to raise their hand and say, I'm interested, or I'd like to talk more about it. Just like Kelly says, there's little steps you can take. You don't have to go the whole thing at once, and just do enough to make you comfortable to want to do a little bit more and satisfy your curiosity versus, not doing it. And part of doing it is putting it on a schedule. Writing it down with a date next to it. Whether you do it or not, you'll be aware of it when you don't do it. So thank you, Penny. Great to see you. Harvey's, here's a thank you to Harvey. You're a star. And that's what you get. It proves it right there. Show somebody's book. The person appreciates it. Everybody else appreciates you for showing it for the person. And then they appreciate it for maybe knowledge for themselves. So you get a triple header out of that thing. Versus here's what I did last weekend, which is like a total go to sleep type of thing. Khan comes back with This is a growing community that invites contribution, not just consumption of valuable information. Sure, why not be a colleague and an equal before you try to do something to somebody? Why not do something with somebody? Most people do things at somebody, and that's just not a way of building long-term relationships. Penny says, "You bet I do." That can-do spirit can get you through. Let me tell you, Penny. Renee Deb comes back. Another thing which an individual could do is showcase their achievements in education and sports and other matters. And that's right, Renee Deb. And if you got an hour live stream, you got more than enough time to showcase anything. And maybe because it's an hour, people have time too, right? If it's a shortened episode, everybody's squeezing in their information. But if you have plenty of time, you tend to be a little bit more generous with the casualness of it, the conversation of it. And I think everybody enjoys conversations over directions. Last one from now, one more thing is engage in thought leadership and give their opinions. Kelly, a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, so much stuff. Yeah, and I one of the things that stood out, I mean, there's many, but the first one I want to mention is sometimes I think people too can also think an hour seems overwhelming to fill in an hour of conversation. I can certainly say from our initial launch of the Awesome Journey, we thought we would start with 30 minutes and kind of see how it went. Well, we never did 30 minutes. It always went to an hour, and we go over pretty often. And that's because the conversations get so deep and personal, and you lose track of time. And we say this a lot on this show, is the hour is over before you know it. Like, it goes by crazy fast. And another thing I wanted to mention is doing lives also gives you opportunity to be seen by other people who do lives. I've certainly been given so many different opportunities, not just being on other people's shows. I've been on Harvey's show. Omar has another show called Do We Really Know? I was on that at the beginning of the year. And Dawn, you've been on that. Christy and I are actually going to be on Chris Hennessy's show this evening. So I did a thing at 7 p.m. Central Time. I've been on Beverly's podcast. So you get exposure, and people are like, oh, wow, this person's content, or, it fits what I'm doing. And it allows you to have more people reach out and then reach out to do other things. Hey, would you be interested in doing something more focused on marketing? Would you? So it opens doors, as well as just letting people know you. It does lead to other places. So I think it's important to remember that especially if you want thought leadership, and that's why I started to begin with, because I'd spent my whole career marketing others, their products and services, and not my own. And I thought, I need to start doing something for me, because my profile, although had great experience on it, I wasn't doing anything for myself. So I do have, and here's another thing we can maybe talk about this round, is looking in ways to get a top voice on your profile, and contributing to LinkedIn articles, which is a free thing to do in creator mode, because it just adds some validity to your profile, having a top badge. Because I think eventually, like, a lot of people will get them, but you have to commit to writing some content to it, because LinkedIn, without any notice, will remove the badge, and you have to work to get it back. But it really doesn't take a lot of time. It does take some thoughtfulness, but that also gives people, whether or not you have the check mark and a badge, it just adds a little bit more credibility, thought leadership to your profile. And, if you're not sure how to optimize your profile, and then a little plug for Christy, she does reviews for free of your resume and your LinkedIn profile, because I think so many people are overwhelmed about that too. How do I optimize? And you can see on so many people that are selling different programs, their approaches are all so crazy different that it's like, well, which one is actually accurate? So my thing is, if I can just get feedback, and that's the same thing of what we're doing. Hey, learn from what we've learned, so that you can speed up the process. because again, I don't want to have to spend hours looking up things to figure out how to do it. Sometimes I do just want to do it quicker and get it done. Um, so that's kind of where I am this time around. So back over to you, Harvey.
Yeah, I mean, some amazing points. I've tried to write them down. You look at what I'm trying to now try and remember and read off here.
I love that.
But it just shows, because everybody's making really good comments, and you are as well. And I write them down because, and like you said, the conversation goes different ways based on what the audience and what we're all wanting to talk about and what people are wanting to hear. And it sort of takes me to one of the points that you said about it having no agenda. I showed a page there that had lots of writing on it. When we begun this, that didn't have any writing on it at all, not one word. And in fact, I was on a meeting until 3 minutes before this started. So it's having no script, having no agenda can feel scary if you are not used to it. But what it does is it opens up a true conversation. And someone once commented on the franchise show that I do that the conversational style reveals like little nuggets of information that people wouldn't necessarily have given away if they had a series of questions or a tight script that they were following. It just wouldn't have happened. They would have just been concentrating on trying to work out what they were meant to say rather than listening and adapting. I like what Renardeb said about your professional presence and your career as well, because even if you haven't got a business, we're talking here about being, it doesn't matter what industry, and let's say you're just trying to promote yourself because you're looking for a job. Well, you can do that because your community can be potential recruiters or companies you'd love to be an employee at or work with. You can connect with those people, create something that they're interested in and would add value, and suddenly you become a facilitator, a thought leader, and they will notice you, because you don't have to be an expert to be a thought leader. If you're in your industry and you think there are you may have imposter syndrome and think, well, I'm not the greatest expert in my industry. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is you're the person who brings those experts together and facilitates those conversations, because you're adding value, and they will see it and the industry will see it. And then suddenly you are the thought leader within your industry. And it's very achievable to do within the platform of a LinkedIn Live. I also like what Don said about once you've found your community, you've made your connections to a community that you want to engage with, support that community. It's something that I did very recently, which was to tidy up my my LinkedIn feed, so that what was coming into my feed whenever I looked at it was to do with the community I wanted to engage with, the franchising community, as an example. So everything that comes in is that. It makes it very easy for me to like and comment and watch things that my fellow franchise professionals are doing. And LinkedIn will do that for you. They make it really easy. You don't have to scroll through loads of stuff to get to the people you're interested in. There are just ways of doing it. All you need to do is say, I'm not interested in this topic, and there's just a best practice for supporting the community that you want to grow. And I think another thing I was going to say there as well is, Kelly, you were saying about going on other people's shows, and and you find these ways of connecting. I mean, I've got to name drop Carl now, because I'm going to be a guest on Carl's show.
Love it.
And Carl has come through the program with us, and he's got his newsletter, he's got his show, which is great. It's really good. It's all about funding. I'm going to be doing an episode on franchising and funding, and it's going to be a fantastic thing. So I'm really looking forward to it. But it really does show that you can engage with a community and get to know people on a different level when you're using the platform of LinkedIn Live. And I think finally what you were saying there about those top voice badges, and it reminded me that I need to add some collaborative articles. But yeah, they are good. It certainly helped when you're trying from a position of perhaps not being necessarily the biggest expert in your category or in your industry, but when you're trying to facilitate conversations, like you say, maybe in the future they won't have any value, but right now I think they do have a value. I think having one of those, having the that verification tick on your profile, I think they have value. They help people to say, okay, this person is a genuine person, and that they're enthusiastic at least about their industry. And it's easy, isn't it, to ask questions and to see what comes in and to chat about it. As facilitators here, we're looking at the comments that are coming in here, and they're really good. They're really relevant towards LinkedIn strategy. And, the stuff I'm writing down here is because of the community around us. And all of these people we know really well. And we wouldn't know them well if they had just commented on a post or an article. We just wouldn't know who they are. But yeah, I love it.
Well, I mean, we can keep talking forever. And what I realize, because it takes reflection, it takes looking back and seeing things happening and then identifying them. And when you're first on a social platform, you're thinking quantity. You're thinking more connections, more comments, more audience.
Mm-hmm.
When you realize you only want truly 10 to 15 people at best that you're actually coordinating things, working with. I've got a list of, honestly, probably 23 people that I'm in conversations with, about certain things, and they're in motion. When, if, and how they ever blossom are not as important as knowing I'm working a group, right? Just like if you had sales leads, you would say, okay, I've got 30 target individuals who I could collaborate somehow and are interested in collaborating, but don't exactly know how to bridge it or come together. And I think that's all you really want, is just like Harvey said with Carl. Now Harvey will be exposed to Carl's audience.
Yeah.
Right? And in turn, everybody gets a turn at everybody else's audience, but collectively that's huge. The other thing is, a lot of people who are scarcity oriented want to keep people down, going to want to keep people inside, versus watching them flourish and grow and fly on their own. And you know what happens? People realize who was the one who introduced them. Your first anything always has a bigger memory than the second anything. And what happens, people come back to it, and they come back to you. If you have value, they want to continue to build with you because you're familiar, you're trusting. Those are the things that you're really laying the groundwork for in the future. And the people who don't see that are the ones who are majoring in the minors. They're the ones who take the scraps and run and hope to find another scrap along the way, versus building something significant, something important, something that's a legacy, and something that challenges you to get smarter by learning other people's smartness. That's the best way to learn. But before we go too deep, Renadeb's on fire today. I'll just start here. Then also jump in different groups, right? I think we're actually down here. I moved up there. Khan says, this is a growing community, invites contribution. I think we covered that, but you're so right, not a consumption. A better person allows someone to go first, right? A better person honors people first, right? At least it shares what they're hoping to see, and you get a faster answer. Renadeb says, recommendations and endorsements are also quite helpful for the individual. One should also try to stay active on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Beverly says, great strategy, John. If it's not scheduled, chances are it won't get done. You can't wish it. You have to do it. And I think that, to Kelly's and Harvey's earlier point, you got to be organized here. You don't have to, we could be right off the cuff and not have anything practiced, but I know every day at every time when I need to do what I need to do, and I break it up at 6:30 in the morning here's when I announced the show today. Here's when I do the show. Here's how I support the show. Here's how I'm promoting tomorrow's show. And, if you keep your badge alive, put that on a schedule to make sure you're doing it. I think the check mark is very important because we tend to forget that we took the dive. So many people are so skeptical of bots and people who are just spamming people that when you get a check or LinkedIn gives you a badge, it kind of gives you some third-party validation that might make somebody comfortable. Dennis says, agree, if you have plenty of time, you can make a rhyme. Penny comes back with, I'm a member of a U.S. mastermind group. We meet twice a month for an hour. It flies by. Likewise, Harvey's show.
Yeah.
And I think association is so important. If they like Harvey and Harvey has me on a show, they're already liking me more than if I just was a stranger. And as Carl comes in and we say, hey, Carl's okay. He's working with us. He's doing some great things. And I know Carl will learn things and find things me and Kelly and Harvey would have never found.
That's right.
But by sharing, it's like, hey, all of us are doing it every week or every other week. What do you got? And let's share with what we have. And collectively, we grow in so many different ways. Oh, agree. Time with family as we become, that's Linda, does make this special and warms my heart with real people. And, warming your heart is a fantastic endeavor, So if you can, do that, great. Agree, opening doors makes you more adorable. People in there, you have a great story, Kelly, and your episode is rating well. And I'm looking forward to interview Christy in a few weeks. It keeps on going. It is like that bucket line, when people put out a fire, just handing the next bucket on. Have to run. Thank you. Enjoy your day. Thank you, Con, so much. Carl says having guests on your show should not be an extraction of information for display, but an opportunity to help the guests in achieving their goals. When you know that you're there for them and they know you're there for them and the audience knows everybody's there for them, then everybody knows their role is to show some support. Leslie's here. Leslie's everywhere. Hi,
Yes.
you. I'm miserably late. Glad to catch even a few minutes with you. It's always good to reconnect. And that's the thing about LinkedIn is people may come and go, but their memory stays. And you'd be surprised how many people come back at a certain point because we're also dealing with life situations, right? Some people have priorities. Some people have events. And, everybody needs that room, that opportunity to continue to find themselves in their own way. But I know one thing, family and community keeps you in the game longer than you ever could have been independently. So if you feel comfortable doing things on your own, it's hard when you're dealing with larger scale. So Kelly, looks like this has just been boom, boom, bang all show.
No. Speaking of time flying, and hi, Leslie, and see, Leslie is a great example of find people that you want to support and truly support one another. She puts out her weekly list of all the live streams and audio shows, which is a great cheat sheet for all of us. I always am referring to it. But also just a reminder of get yourself aligned with other people that you like their content, comment on it, get involved in their content. LinkedIn likes that. The longer people are on the platform, the more they like it. And that's why when you're in comments and you mention the person's name when you're replying to them, because that's another way just to keep the engagement up. So many things, but time has flown by today because it's already 5 of. And I'm wondering, what time is it, Harvey?
You see, every week I think maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. Do we need to do this? It's a serious business strategy show. Do we really need a prop? But we can't let it go, can we?
It always just it's kind of like when you as kids when you were studying and you would have to make words to remember something.
Well, you know what?
I'd remember your prop.
I'd forgotten about it until about 3 minutes ago. You saw me do that and try
Oh
and
yeah,
find.
I knew what
Well,
was happening.
um, well, actually, I think it's quite a good prop today, and I think I've used him before, but I'm going to use him again because he's such a cool little dude, and here he is. Right?
Oh my gosh, I have not seen this before,
Okay,
so I
so
missed it.
this is Bob Ross, and it's a
That's
finger puppet of Bob
fantastic.
Ross. And what I like about Bob Ross, okay, two reasons I'm using Bob here today, is he had a trademark, his lovely hairstyle,
Oh,
and in the end he couldn't have any other trademark. But he used that to help convey the message. The other thing that I think is brilliant about Bob Ross is he taught us all to paint an amazing picture in 30 minutes. Now, how did he do that? He used tips and techniques that made an amazing looking picture relatively simple for the majority of people to produce. And he did it via the medium of television so that you could get to know him.
and
And
they actually said in the beginning, like, who would watch a half an hour show on someone painting?
that's
And he
right.
still to this day has his own channel.
Yeah, and I love his programs, and that's it. We can all produce an artwork if we know the right tools and the right way to do it. So yeah, think of Bob Ross when you think of doing a LinkedIn Live in the right way with the help of your friends here.
Love that.
That's great, Harvey. And you can always expect great things from Harvey and Kelly because, I think we share a constant learning interest in common. It's almost like being part of a book club, where you're reading the same book, but everybody's picking up maybe a little different twist to it. Or you look at movies and you see the reactions from other people after you've seen it, and it kind of fills in some blanks. So, I've always said, if I was on Wheel of Fortune, the first thing I do is buy all the vowels I could, right, before trying to solve the puzzle. And I think LinkedIn is the same way because every aspect of it has huge value, or LinkedIn wouldn't have engineered it and put it out there, whether it's knowing how to do a poll, knowing how to do a newsletter, knowing how to get a badge, knowing how to get a verified mark. I mean, you can put everything you see on the front page of your profile, and everything has a better strategy to it. And why not be the best that you can at everything you do if it's just a matter of understanding what it is? It's not more time, it's not more work, but it is more satisfaction. And then once you get there, saved a learning curve like Cliff Notes, right? Why not be able to share, hey, in 20 pages, here's a 300-page book and all you need to know. So we're almost coming up on top of the hour. Leslie says artist must be our hand puppet there. He whispered and was a sweet and kind man. And, I think that's so important, Leslie, because, after whatever you did or didn't do, how do people, if they had to put 2 or 3 adjectives in front of your name, what were those 2? Were they caring, thoughtful, giving, service oriented? Those are the things that really are your legacy because they continue, and you made an impact, and maybe you helped somebody get to where they're going they wouldn't have. Carl comes back with LinkedIn Live is like having an 8th vowel. You're so right, Carl. So refreshing about Carl. He's so new to this, that just in 3 months we've seen him come in. And now, not only, I think the newsletter was a key element. And I think that also shows do something like a poll and get good at it while you're waiting to do a live stream. Do a newsletter while you're waiting. Whatever it is, do something that you can do right now. That's something that you didn't know last week. And here's another thing, use shows like this to get your answers, right? If someone says, I'm doing a newsletter and I'm running into a bump on the road, give us 3 the chance to tell you what we think, or give you credit for bringing some up we weren't aware of. And with LinkedIn changing so many times in so many ways, you need scouts out there all the time to say this or that. Just like on the SSI, they added that 3rd component, that wasn't there before. I got the 3rd one. Maybe they're rolling that out slowly, just like they did badges and things. So Harvey, last thoughts, and then we'll go to Kelly.
Yeah, I wanted to end. Leslie always promotes our show, so I actually want to end and promote her show, Think and Grow Rich, because you said there about getting some answers from finding a show that is really good, and the show is really resonating with me, and I think it's full of value. And she spends a lot of time promoting our shows. So here's a little plug for Leslie, Think and Grow Rich. Check that one out. So that's where I'm going to end today.
Well, great. And Kelly?
Yeah, and I just kind of to end on to Carl, since you did Leslie, I'll go to Carl. What I love about what he did too is his newsletter. When he started it, he paid attention to what his audience was interacting with more and changed his strategy on the things that he was posting. So he continues to shift as need be, which I think is so important to remember. Just because you think it's great, your audience may not. Pay attention to how your audience is responding to your content. Super important. So, and I'll end like I always do, because it's a Monday. Everybody go out and have an incredible week. I will see you again on Thursday, and of course tomorrow on The Awesome Journey. And go out and shine so bright that others can't help but shine too.
Well, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Harvey. Thank you, audience. And this truly was a strategy event. I guess if we were to look at the 60 minutes, we'd probably find 30 or 40 really interesting nuances to strategy. And again, consistent learning, consistent application of your learning will get you up the ladder a lot faster. So anyways, if you can, come back tomorrow. We've got Beverly, and we've also got our new guest who is, let me just get it for sure. It's Michelle J. Howe. So hopefully you can all come back. And thank you, Omar, for being here. And thank you all, because, you know, if I was going to have a Thanksgiving dinner, this would be the group I would invite and be so grateful to have. So it's nice to have all this without a dinner, but still the thought is the same. So thank you. See you tomorrow.